collectively when we lost Charlie Kirk. It's been a hard few weeks for all of us, and for me, I met Charlie Kirk more than 10 years ago. It was actually at a little restaurant called Fresh & Co. under Fox News, and I would go on Varney & Co., which is a Fox Business show, and then Charlie would go on, and we were the two little millennials, and he'd be on one day, and I'd be on the next day, and he was just this 18-year-old kid at the time, just brimming with energy. And I remember one day he said, let's go meet at Fresh & Co. and properly meet, and it's this little restaurant underneath Fox News, and I go and I meet him, and he just has this huge idea. He wants to start this big youth organization, and a lot of people have ideas, right? But it doesn't always manifest quite the way Charlie Kirk's idea manifested. It manifested not just in an organization, but in a movement, and in a movement that is quite clearly changing the world. And I recognized just how powerful his message was. It was Christ-centered, and I think the whole world now sees just how powerful his message was. I went on through life, and I went on my political journey, and it was a great honor when Charlie invited me to receive the Freedom Fighter Award after I had been press secretary, and that award that's in my office now takes on a whole deeper and other context. And then, my journey on earth here with Charlie Kirk ended at 5:57 p.m. It was on September 9th, so it was the day before he was assassinated. I hadn't spoken to him in a while. And I looked down, and I'm on the 5 that day, and I look down, and in between the commercial break, I see a text from Charlie Kirk. And he was telling me about a project that his family had coming up, and he was so proud of Erica, his beautiful wife, and all she was doing, and this new project they were working on. And little did I know, in less than 24 hours, his life would be taken. It was a horrible day in America. But even if you didn't know Charlie, your heart was broken too. I saw tears pour out across the nation, not just from people who knew him, but from those who didn't. And why did that happen? I think we have to ask ourselves why that happened. And I think Chad Prather, he's someone who I follow online. You can find him on X. I think he said it best, and I want to read it to you. The reason you feel Charlie's death so deeply is because grief doesn't measure itself by proximity, it measures itself by meaning. You didn't have to know him personally to feel the sting of his absence, because when a voice like his goes silent, something in the atmosphere shifts. The reason it feels heavier than so many other tragedies is because your spirit recognizes that this is not just about a man, it's about a battle. And he said there's this thread that is pulling at our national fabric, and I think we can all feel that with that attack, with the attack on an ICE facility this week. And he concluded by saying, this is bigger than news, this is bigger than politics, this is about eternity, about truth, and about the weight of a man whose life carried both. And I think he nailed it. There really is a spiritual battle playing out around us. And Charlie once said, you can choose to acknowledge it, or you can choose to not acknowledge it, but it doesn't change the fact that there is a spiritual battle happening around us. And we saw that in the evil that manifested that day on September 10th, a 22-year-old assassin who just in the aftermath methodically texted about what he had done, just methodically and casually. He had the audacity to say some hate cannot be negotiated with, doubling down on what he had done. We saw evil when he went on a Discord thread and joked about his doppelganger performing it. Who can go out and kill a man, a father of 2 beautiful children, a husband, and then go on to joke about that matter? That's evil. But here's the good news. There's also good. And we know that the light defeats the darkness. And I can tell you that is happening right now. I am so encouraged when I go online and I read some of the testimonies from Gen Z, from young people. And we know Gen Z, they have a lot of great qualities about them, but one of the qualities that unfortunately characterizes that generation is there's a lot of depression and suicide. And we see that, social media, really the toxic nature it's had on these individuals, these young people. Well, there's revival happening with young people in America after what happened on September 10th. And just a few examples, and it was beautiful to watch these young people tell these stories themselves. A young woman who said, my whole life, my mother-in-law, since I married my husband, has been trying to tell me about Jesus, telling me to pick up a Bible, and I haven't done it. And then she said, something happened when I saw the way evil individuals were celebrating Charlie Kirk's assassination that day. It caused me to pick up a Bible. She said, I picked up a Bible for the first time after my mother-in-law had been trying to convince me to believe in faith, to believe in Christianity. She opens the Bible, and she opens to John 8:32. Then you will know the truth, and the truth will set you free. She said, Charlie Kirk's death woke me up spiritually, and now I cannot unsee the truth. Another young man, big athletic guy, I watched a video, looks like someone who's probably just, come off a football field or baseball field. He said that every time Charlie Kirk started to talk about God, he watched his videos for the first time, something in him started to make him cry. He said it was just waterworks everywhere. He said, I've always said God doesn't exist, it's not real, but it doesn't make sense. It's like, why do I get so emotional? I'm not an emotional dude at all, he said, so I got a Bible. Well, I could tell him the reason he's getting emotional is because the Holy Spirit is moving. The Holy Spirit is moving. A third young man said, the spiritual and moral peace that I have seen in the Christian community regarding this whole thing is something that I envy because I am full of rage and hate and anger. Charlie Kirk might have converted me to Christianity. And then a final person said, I'm now convinced that God is real, and she posted a text exchange that she had had with one of her friends. And here was the text exchange. Kirk messed me up. I dreamed about him last night, which is weird. They replied, really, I'm telling you, dude, I barely listened to him, and I felt like somehow that my friend was murdered. The person replies, same. Then the person says, I'm reading it's happening to a bunch of people. What did you dream? And the person wrote back, I dreamed that we were hanging out and talking, Charlie and I. And the person goes, about what? And he said, Jesus. Lives are changing in this country.